one other legal note, marijuana activist Ron Kiczenski can't seem to get arrested, although it's certainly not for lack of trying. The 29-year-old Kiczenski is the founder of a group called Hemp Across America, and last April he sent non-inhaling President Bill Clinton a quarter pound of marijuana by mail. Kiczenski was hoping to be arrested for that act in order to challenge the constitutionality of laws prohibiting the use of marijuana, a natural herb which has medical uses in the treatment of afflictions ranging from glaucoma to AIDS, and the decriminalization of which has been recommended by such conservatives as William F. Buckley Jr. and former Secretary of State George Shultz. However, upon receiving Kiczenski's package of pot, the White House politely acknowledged receipt but declined to prosecute. So Kiczenski recently mailed off a half-pound of marijuana to Clinton, along with educational literature and a pair of hemp fiber jogging shorts, all neatly wrapped in a U.S. flag. He also taped himself doing all of this.
First, I'm going to shove it into the jogging shorts. And I'm going to wrap it in the jogging shorts. Stuff it right down in here. Half a pound of marijuana seeds are going in there. This is the book, Hemp Lifeline to the Future, an absolutely excellent book.
Kiczenski held a press conference in front of the White House last Friday at which he handed guards a copy of that tape and demanded that they arrest him. However, the Clinton administration, headed by a man alleged to be the first rock and roll president, shows no inclination to rationalize the current drug law morass. That's the news for now. We'll be back with more later here on MTV.
MTV News. You hear it first.
And send the president marijuana. And better yet, why would the president send back a thank you note?
It's supposed to be against the law, smoking marijuana, so it takes real guts to send marijuana straight to the White House.
Well, that's what this man did. He joins us next to tell you why he did it. A California man sent a special delivery to the White House, a quarter pound of marijuana. Ron Kiczenski didn't intend for President Clinton to inhale it. He just wanted to make a point about legalizing pot. But what he got was a thank you note from the president. Kiczenski then called the Justice Department to inform it of the marijuana delivery. And again, he got a thank you note. This one from Mary Lee Warren, who heads the Narcotic and Dangerous Drug Section. So far, no actions have been taken against Kiczenski.
Well, with us tonight in the newsroom, Ron Kiczenski of Paso Robles, who sent the pot to President Clinton, and he's here with his attorney, Kenny Hahn.
Well, we'd like to thank you both for being with us. But first, Mr. Kiczenski, you're probably more surprised by the reaction that you got from the White House, I imagine. What did you expect to happen?
Well, I expected to be arrested soon after they got the package.
So what did you think when you got a thank you note?
I was quite surprised. It was pretty amazing to get that. Although it was like your standard forum card, I think, that they're sending out to most people right now that write them about anything.
Well, obviously they misunderstood something somewhere. I mean, did they think you were reporting somebody else using it and turning it in or something? What did they think?
I really have no idea what they think up there. That's why I had to do something so drastic, I think, to get this information out to the people, because I just wanted to say something. When you introduced it, you said it was about legalizing marijuana, and really that's not what this is about. We're not talking about people smoking marijuana. We're talking about using a resource that can help save this planet, a resource that can take the place of petroleum products and timber products and do it efficiently, cheaply, and help. And it's a resource that all the farmers of this country could produce.
You're talking about hemp, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, did you include that in the letter to the president?
Yeah, in fact, the quarter pound of marijuana was wrapped in cloth made from hemp that was imported from China. And the letter was written on paper made from hemp, and there was about 2 pounds of information, all about the technical information about how hemp can affect our economy, environment, and healthcare situation.
But it was illegal what you did.
Absolutely.
And you thought if you got arrested, what did you figure then would happen to you?
Well, I figured that I thought the American people would be interested to know why someone sent marijuana to the president and put themselves up to be put in jail for 10 years. And I think that's an interesting story, and I thought when that story was covered, the information about this resource that has been suppressed for 50 years would finally come out. And especially at this critical time, we need to make the best decisions we can possibly make right now with our economy, environment, and healthcare situations. And without even considering this information, we're not making the best decisions.
Well, something still could happen, I guess, Mr. Kiczenski.
Certainly.
But thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Also coming...
Also coming up, imagine sending a box of this to the president. A local man did exactly that. So why isn't he in jail? Coming up.
Sent a most unusual present to Bill Clinton.
You're not kidding. Now he tells us why he sent marijuana to the president and why he's getting away with it. We'll let you know. Marijuana. People have been trying to legalize it for years. Tonight, though, one proponent has taken a most unusual tact, sending pot to the president. Patrick Healy is in the newsroom now with more on the marijuana activist who thought for sure he'd land in jail. Patrick.
Kelly, he's Ron Kiczenski of Paso Robles, and he's not in jail because the feds decided not to file any charges. It's a touchy subject the government wishes would just go away.
Oh, excellent.
Ron Kiczenski thinks he can help legalize the marijuana plant by pleading its case in federal court. That's why he says he mailed President Clinton a quarter pound of pot.
My understanding is it was highly illegal.
Kiczenski got a return receipt from the White House mail room, then a federal form letter. What he did not get was arrested.
I think I wasn't arrested because they didn't want attention brought to this issue.
The issue he and fellow advocates see are the virtues of hemp, the marijuana plant. And if you think this is only about smoking dope, they'll show you their hemp garments, steamed seeds, hemp paper, and hemp twine.
No one wants to let the information come out to the surface.
They talk even of weaning cars off gasoline to run on hemp oil.
This material can really help save our planet.
Believing that, how could she not applaud Kiczenski's efforts to make hemp a federal case? But the skeptical Drug Enforcement Administration dismisses Kiczenski as a martyr to get publicity. Further, DEA Special Agent Ralph Lockridge contends it was hemp rope, not marijuana, in the package sent to the White House. Clearly offended, Kiczenski insists he sent the president nothing less than leaf from potent bud.
Oh, he could have inhaled and caught a buzz off that.
So it would appear somebody's not telling the truth here, but rather than hauling Kiczenski into court and giving the hemp movement publicity, the feds prefer to ignore him. Colin Kelly.
Presidential correspondent. Hi, I'm trying to locate a package. Just got off the phone with the mailroom, and they said it was received, but the people it was supposed to go to haven't seemed to receive it, so we're trying to find out what happened to it. Okay, can you tell me what the package was? Yeah, it was a package to the president, a package of information to the president. Okay, what was the information dealing with? Just all kinds of political issues. But the thing is, they never received the package up there. Can I give you the package number and see if you know where it is, or? Well, you know, I would have actually no idea where to look. Let me see if I can put you on the line with someone who might be able to help you a bit better than I can. Okay, all right, hold on one moment. Thanks. This is Jeff. I understand you sent some material to the president. It was showing that it was received, but you haven't got a response back yet? Not just the response. It's no one seems to know where the package is. Well, sir, we receive about 30 to 50,000 letters here at the White House every day. It's impossible for us to log where they are at every second that they're here at the White House. You will get a response eventually. Well, this package was a little bit different in that it contained almost a quarter pound of marijuana. Good. I hate to burst your bubble, but it's probably not the first time I received drugs at the White House. Hold on one second. Okay. Sir, what's your name again? Ron Kiczenski. Hold on. Thanks. How do you spell your last name? K-I-C. Hold on. Sir? Yes. I understand you've been calling several offices. What is the purpose of that? Well, I'm trying to locate the package. Well, you sent it to the president, did you not? Yes, but okay, if the president or if his staff feels that your package merits a response, then you'll get something in the mail. Well, no, the staff never got the package. That's the whole point. No, we have received it. You have received it? Yeah, okay. But so you have it now, or the Secret Service has it? We have the package here at the White House, and if we feel it merits a response, then you'll get something in the mail, okay? No use to keep calling and bothering everybody, though. But isn't it illegal to send marijuana through the mail? Why did you send it to the mail, then, if you think it's illegal? Do you want me to call somebody and have them come arrest you? Are you trying to attract publicity to yourself? What are you trying to do by doing this? If it's illegal to do that, I would think that you guys would inform the DEA. The DEA is aware of the case, but they don't have the package. Sir, I don't know what you're trying to do, if you're trying to create publicity for yourself or what, but not for myself. If we feel what you sent to the White House merits a response, you'll get something, okay? This has nothing to do with myself. It has to do with issues relating to everything that... Okay, sir, we receive thousands of letters every day on all kinds of issues, and your letter will be treated just like everybody else's, okay? So then it's okay to send marijuana to the president? Well, I'm not, you can send
across America gathered in front of the federal building today trying to educate passersby and get a message to President Clinton. They want to get the president to help revitalize the hemp or marijuana industry in this country, but not for recreational use. They claim hemp has thousands of other uses.
There's no relation to the current protests against the current marijuana laws that are out. That has nothing to do with smoking at all.
A spokesman for the group says hemp can be used to make paper, building materials, medicine, clothing, fuel, and much more. One statistic says hemp produces 4 times as much paper per acre than timber and grows about 20 times faster. So why is it still illegal? Hemp supporters blame corporations, saying large companies are afraid of losing business if hemp were legalized. Supporters say there are some species of marijuana that do not have high levels of the chemical that gives pot smokers their high.
Is against alcohol, this group is in favor of legalizing marijuana. Supporters of the hemp plant say the United States is behind the times.
Just deregulated marijuana hemp for industrial uses, and the United States should be doing the same.
The weed backers say marijuana can be used to make clothes, paper, and building materials, among other things. They also pointed out that a town just up to 90's is named after the illegal plant.
Hempstead, Texas, just down the road here, was named after marijuana, and it was a big crop in the 18th century here.
This demonstration was one of 35 pro-help.
Time to legalize marijuana. Others may call it a dopey idea, but today there are some Houstonians telling America that marijuana hemp is a nearly perfect product for the 90s, whether you inhale it or not. Today's rally outside this store, which specializes in marijuana-related products, is part of a national event called Hemp Across America. The group has sent letters to President Clinton and Governor Ann Richards saying it's time to reconsider the outlawed drug.
You can grow marijuana without being able to get high on it, and it was ideal for paper products to help stop deforestation, for clothing products to eliminate the need for the heavy pesticides and fertilizers of cotton.
In addition, they say cannabis flowers and leaves can be eaten or smoked for many therapeutic, religious, and recreational purposes.
Still a
with it. There's no one ever brought into the courtroom in a drug case saying this person has wronged me. There's no victims in the drug war except the people who are being cast into prison.
While law enforcement officials may argue with that, pro-marijuana groups are actually taking an economic tack these days, hoping to appeal to Americans' pocketbooks. They argue legalizing hemp would create jobs. The seeds, they explain, can be used to produce oil, and byproducts of the plant can be used to produce paper and other consumer goods. Take this hat, for instance. It's made from 100% hemp. It feels a lot like a linen or a linen cotton blend, but actually the fibers come from the stem of the marijuana plant. And the tag inside, by the way, says 100% hemp. Warning, do not smoke this cap. Whether or not the hemp plant will save the forests of the Pacific Northwest.
It's also hoped the Clinton administration will reopen the program which allows the medicinal use of marijuana for sufferers of AIDS, cancer, and glaucoma. The program was closed under President Bush.
Hey, this one in San Luis Obispo by a group hoping to see the legalization of hemp in this country. More than a dozen advocates gathered in front of the county government center to argue that hemp should be considered a viable industrial crop.
Currently, nearly all of the raw substances from which we make most of our basic necessities come from limited timber and petroleum resources. This has allowed 80 to 90% of our country's wealth to be amassed and controlled by a mere 5 to 10% of our population. In turn, leaving our economy bankrupt, many of our people homeless, jobless, our environment poisoned, and our health care costs unaccessibly high.
Now, the group has sent a letter to President Clinton asking for his support. Besides the industrial uses of hemp, several medicinal purposes have been identified to be connected with marijuana. Later this month, both the Morro Bay and the San Luis Obispo City Councils will be holding a public hearing on taking a stand on the issue of hemp and marijuana.
3 states involved.
I'll pay you for it.
As you can tell, mainstream media doesn't think this topic is important enough to show up, but the alternative media is here, and this will be rebroadcast on KPFK and Hemp for Victory Public Access.
Yes. Yo!
The first person I want to bring, oh, by the way, my name is She Who Remembers, Jeannie Brittingham Erstad. I do audio tapes for KPFK Radio which is one of the few radio stations that will even talk about this subject. The first person I want to bring, oh, by the way, my name is She Who Remembers, Jeannie Brittingham Erstad. I do audio tapes for KPFK Radio, which is one of the few radio stations that will even talk about this subject. First up, we're going to have Richard Wiggett reading the press release that's being read all across the country today. Richard represents, he's the national organizer for Hemp Across America.
All right. Okay. Press release for Hemp Across America. Emergency town meeting, July 10th, 1993, 12 noon. Message to the President. We believe that the only viable solution to our current economic, environmental, and health care crisis lies in a return to an agriculturally based economic structure. Currently, nearly all of the raw substances from which we make most of our basic necessities come from the limited timber and petroleum resources. This has allowed 80% to 90% of our country's wealth to be amassed and controlled by a mere 5 to 10% of our population. In turn, leaving our economy bankrupt, many of our people jobless, our environment poisoned, and our healthcare costs unacceptably high. Through agriculture, the farmers and citizens of this country could be producing all the raw materials necessary to make most of our basic necessities, thereby eliminating our extremely unbalanced reliance on timber and petroleum products. This shift back to agriculture will completely revitalize our economic infrastructure to the point of culminating our national debt, wiping out unemployment, and lowering our cost of living without raising anyone's taxes. There is one annually renewable crop and or resource we know of that could fulfill nearly all of our consumer needs and necessities. That is hemp. Hemp is the fastest growing, most versatile and efficient vegetable, as well as the strongest soft fiber on earth. Tens of thousands of different products can be made from hemp, such as all paper products and ink, pressboard, and many other essential building materials, medicines, oil for human consumption, and for non-toxic durable paints, varnishes, and other sealants, and all types of plastic products, fabrics, clothing, carpeting, shoes, canvas, ropes, fuel of all grades, etc., etc. Hemp seed is one of the most nutritionally balanced food sources available to humankind. Hemp is perfectly suited for the temperate climate of the USA, as well as most of the world. We ask that President Clinton consider enacting an executive order to restore the American hemp industry as it was during the presidency of Thomas Jefferson. Please note, this national statement is in no way related to protesting the current laws surrounding so-called recreational use of marijuana hemp. National contacts, Richard Wiggett, 818-304-2763, Ron Kiczenski, 805-239-9473. Thank you very much.
All right.
I think one of the things I want to do today is to thank Hugh Downs for the commentary that he did back in November of 1990 about hemp and history. I happened to catch this commentary that he did, a little 10-minute commentary, and I got it to Jack, and it started getting spread out all over the country. Hugh has given us permission to reproduce this tape, and we have copies of it here after the press conference if you're interested in it. One of the reasons that we're here today is because back during the time that George Bush was poised to go into Iraq with the ground troops, there was a huge anti-war rally right here where we're standing today. I was here every week during that war putting out the information that we don't need this filthy, dirty oil of George Bush's, and we didn't need to kill hundreds of thousands of Iraqis in order to protect his corporate interests. I happened to meet a young man that day named Ron Kiczenski. Ron wanted a copy of my tape, and he traded me a CD of the music that he's done. And from that day on, Ron became involved with the movement. He became so enraged after the timber summit that Gore and Clinton had that not one mention was made of alternatives to forest industry, that he sent a package to President Clinton. In that package, he had information on hemp, Jack's book, hemp cloth, and a quarter pound of homegrown marijuana. I consider this one of the greatest known. They will not touch him. They will not arrest him because of the attention it'll bring in the media. He is a father. He has 3 young sons, and he felt it was so important that he did something to bring the attention to him, that he risked his own freedom to do that. I have Ron Kiczenski's lawyer to speak to you next, and he'll fill you on what's going on. Ron put this together nationwide. We now have a network nationwide called Hemp Across America to keep the ball rolling. And now Ron's lawyer is going to tell you basically what's going on with Ron. We are not the criminals. They are the criminals for keeping the truth from the American public for so long. Next up, I have Dr. Roberta Hamilton. She's a biochemist from UCLA. She was doing research to find the most perfect food on the planet. And what do you know? It happened to be the hemp seed. So I'm going to let Roberta explain it to you. I think this is some of the most important information that has come out about hemp, because I also have 3 daughters, and I want them to be the healthiest, happiest children they can be. Roberta?
What a great pity it is that we have an elitist government running everything and depriving us of solutions, because we definitely have solutions everywhere for everything to live a fantastic life. We can have it all, and that means perfect health, perfect immune systems, and perfect lives without violence, without any problems whatsoever worldwide. And we're being deprived of one element that would sustain us all the way through with this, and that's the hemp oil. And the hemp oil, we can't get it perfectly in this country. We can have it, but we have to have it poisoned. And we need to grow it here so that we can have a perfect oil that will sustain us and our immune systems. It contains 2 vital elements, actually 3. It contains linoleic acid and linolenic acid. And the 3rd one, they called me from Princeton and asked, is there gamma-linoleic acid in this hemp oil? And I said, I'm not sure. So sure enough, we had it tested, and there it is. One of the most valuable oils that we can have for people that are suffering from arthritis and inflammatory diseases, that blocks a prostaglandin 2, that makes it unnecessary for anybody to take aspirin. And you all know what aspirin does. It wrecks your thyroid, it causes your stomach to bleed, and yet it's being thrown at us from the FDA in every possible way. We can buy it over the counter, isn't that lovely? It should be taken off, and hemp oil should be put back on. Yes, yes. We did something about it. Education is the key. The gentleman before me was totally correct. We must educate this country. And it's got to happen from the top down. And we've got to get to Clinton and everybody else. So let's hope this case gets there. And God bless you all for coming. I think this is a wonderful turnout for all the media to be here. Thank you.
Next up, we have someone who's been researching the FDA, the pharmaceutical companies, AIDS, AZT. He's an author. He's the author of AIDS Incorporated and Kill the Monster, Cures and Healing. His information comes across KPFK radio every Tuesday night at midnight. And it is the most important information that any of you can have, because in order for us to be healthy, we have to know this information. And John is just a wealth of information and truth. So welcome, John Rappaport.
I've got some figures here that I wanted to read out that some people know about, but I hope this information gets out very far. You've all heard of the Partnership for Drug-Free America, which is a, quote, public interest groups that makes these little spots. This is your brain on drugs, all that kind of stuff. And of course, they're trying to promote the idea that the only harmful drugs in the world are these illegal drugs. Well, Cynthia Cott, a journalist for The Nation, exposed in 1991 or 1992 that their tax returns included certain facts. The first of which is that the chairman of the Partnership for Drug-Free America, James Burke, is the ex-CEO of Johnson & Johnson pharmaceutical house. The funding for that organization is as follows: $150,000 DuPont, $120,000 Procter & Gamble, $110,000 Bristol-Myers Squibb, $110,000 Johnson & Johnson, $100,000 SmithKline, $75,000 Merck, $50,000 Hoffman LaRoche. Drug companies, in case you didn't know that. And in addition to that, just to round out the picture, $150,000 from Philip Morris, Anheuser-Busch, and RJR Reynolds, and $100,000 from American Brands that makes Jim Beam. So the picture gets kind of clear when you look at it that way. What are they talking about? They're just saying, our drugs, not your drugs. That's the whole point of their message. That's all they're interested in. It's a total power game, and they are trying to say, we are the ones who make sure that all of our drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, are very safe and workable and useful, and you are the people with all of your, brain-damaging, mind-destroying street drugs that we're going to be putting out of business as loyal Americans. But when you turn the tables on these idiots and you begin to actually research the drugs that they're manufacturing, you find out that in many, 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 many cases, too many to even imagine, people's brains are being damaged by their pharmaceutical prescription, purified, beautiful, FDA-approved drugs in the area of psychiatry, cancer, AIDS, rheumatoid arthritis, heart disease, anywhere you care to look. There's toxic pharmaceutical drugs. These are the people that are trying to keep hemp away from being legal. Not only do they know that over the, one evening, as soon as it's legal, all those OTC drugs in the drugstore are no longer interesting to people. That's billions of dollars. But they also know that eventually people are going to cop to the fact that they're the ones who are making all of the incredible toxic drugs that people are ingesting. And that's the information that we have to get out to people. The specifics on all of those drugs that they're making and what they really do to people. And the fact that the FDA is the agency responsible for certifying all of those drugs fraudulently, and that's an agency which should be brought up on charges at least of negligent homicide. They're a criminal agency operating like criminals every day. They're the ones that are saying that vitamin A is too toxic to be released on the public, while they're certifying such psychiatric drugs as neuroleptics that destroy people's brains on the order of possibly 1 million cases in the United States from that one class of psychiatric drug. So get this word out and get it out to lots of people. Thank you.
Yes.
As our final speaker today, we have the man most responsible for having the vision and the stamina to gather all this information together and take on the liars with the truth. He's the author of The Emperor Wears No Clothes, basically the Bible of the hemp movement, Sir Jack Herrer.
It's still the exact same information that we discovered 20 years ago, that hemp, marijuana, is the exact same plant, and it's the #1 source on the whole planet of paper, fiber, fuel, paint, varnish, medicine, food, protein, linolenic and linoleic acid. Being the #1 source, just so all of you go back to your homes and can say this precisely, hemp is greater than all the other sources on Earth combined for paper, fiber, fuel. Not just better, not just more, but better than all the other sources on Earth combined. And we've had a $10,000 bet with the government, with the Clinton administration, with the Bush administration, and with the Reagan administration, that nobody could prove a word of it wrong until this day. Of the 500,000 people we've seen in person, of the 20, 30 million people each year we speak to on radio and television, no one has ever come up and told us that hemp there was another plant on Earth besides hemp that could make the paper fiber fuel, let alone be the Earth's #1 source and greater than all the other sources on Earth combined. So take this message back. You have outlawed the Earth's #1 source, the #1 way of surviving as the human race for paper without ever cutting down another tree, by leaving the ground healthier, by fiber for all our clothing, our sails, our ropes, our flags, our books, our Bibles, our diapers, all from a plant that's made illegal. And then, insane as it may seem, I was in Europe 2 weeks ago, and I found out something I had never known about marijuana. In Germany, all through the early part of the century and during World War II, they planted hemp on the marshlands and on the boglands, the virtually worthless lands. The reason is because hemp, marijuana, grew better than all the other plants, so use the good farmlands, they said in 1942, the German government, for all the paper, for all the paper and fiber uses, or for all the food uses, and for all the paper and fiber uses, use the bad lands because hemp grows so well, it'll grow wonderful there. I said, geez, that's terrific. And then I found out there was a second reason. Hemp kills all the buds. All the buds and all the weeds die, so they said surround all your fields, your potato fields, your wheat fields, your corn fields with hemp, and no plant will, no weed will ever be able to attack these plants, and it'll leave the ground so healthy that the next year you'll grow your corn and wheat and potatoes in that field, and you never have to use another drop of DDT or poisons, they said, on the earth. All you need to do is plant hemp around, and whenever the buds or weeds go to migrate, they will die in the hemp fields, not because they will be killed by a poison, but because they'll get so stoned they'll forget to eat. That's the German government by the Reichsmarschall Führer of the Department of Agriculture. And this plant is made illegal, and by the way, the United States government in 1942 had the exact same book, except the Germans wrote theirs in rhyme and the Americans wrote in straight fact. But both of them the same. Marijuana, hemp, is the Earth's #1 plant, greater than all the other plants, and this is what you've made illegal, and this is why we're going to fight you to the death until everybody gets out of jail. And I'm proud of Ron Kiczenski for putting up his body on the line. Thank you.
I would be.
Yes.
Okay. And we have to thank Ron Kiczenski for starting Hemp Across America. And we have to thank Hugh Downs for bringing this information to spread it throughout the land. Thank you for coming here, and now you'll hear from Hugh Downs.
It's pretty simple.
Marty Tilden smokes marijuana at least 6 times a day. He tested HIV positive 7 years ago and says the pot is the only thing that keeps him alive.
I smoke cannabis to eat, and it stimulates my appetite, not to mention it helps with the pain.
We spoke with Marty tonight by firelight because he missed a power bill payment during his last hospital stay. We went to the apartment at the request of Ron Kiczenski.
I'm an activist.
An activist who wants to get Marty's case to court.
This is the first one. It's going to Hillary Clinton.
In his campaign to legalize marijuana, Ron sent a quarter pound of marijuana to the White House, to the Secretary of Agriculture, other administration officials, and members of the national media. 10 packages in all. There's been no response. Ron has not been arrested. So tonight in Marty Tilden's apartment, he tried again, bringing 20 marijuana plants from California and calling the Seattle office of the Drug Enforcement Administration, begging them to make an arrest and get the issue of medicinal use of marijuana in front of a jury.
And Marty thinks that if he got in front of a jury, that a jury would give him the right to use this medicine, and I agree.
It's a ploy authorities did not accept. They did not respond to Ron's calls, nor ours. 6 plants were confiscated from Marty's apartment 2 months ago, but not tonight.
I'd be dead without it. Basically, if I don't smoke, I don't eat. It's right. It's life or death, plain and simple.
The issue is neither plain nor simple, but marijuana users have won their case in court before. But tonight, in a Linwood apartment, the issue still burns. Kevin Reese, TV 11, 10 o'clock news.
Somebody tried to kill me. I basically just said screw it. I really didn't have any will to live anymore.
Pot farmers who are trying to protest California's marijuana laws are in bigger trouble now. The trio appeared in court at Bass Lake today to be arraigned on additional charges of marijuana cultivation. The three were arrested at their pot garden near Course Gold on the 4th of July as they planted marijuana seeds. These additional charges were filed because they allegedly returned to the garden to water the seeds. The would-be pot farmers are challenging laws against marijuana growing. They say their goal is to grow marijuana or hemp for industrial and medicinal purposes, not for casual smoking.
He says the plant, which he calls hemp, its historic name, is an overlooked resource.
Right now, there's an estimate of at least 50,000 different products that can be made from the hemp plant. And not just be made, but be made cheaper and more efficiently.
Products such as fibers for clothes, pressboard for buildings, marijuana seeds for food, even as a substitute for petroleum, as well as a pain reliever. Last April, Kiczenski thought of a way to publicize his cause.
I wrapped a quarter pound of marijuana in cloth made from 100% hemp marijuana, and I wrote a letter on paper made from marijuana and put about 2 pounds of information about how marijuana could most positively affect our economic situation, environment, and healthcare situations. And I sent it registered mail to President Clinton.
Now, you might think the White House would get upset. But no, what the White House did was to send back a form letter from the president.
Thanking me for my thoughts and information and guaranteeing me that everything I sent would be carefully considered.
Now, this was followed up by a polite note from the Justice Department saying that the Drug Enforcement Administration would look into the matter. But so far, nobody's been arrested. Kiczenski thinks no one wants to take action because he thinks this would turn into a political hot potato.
My marijuana that I sent to the president contained a plan, and they don't want to face that. They don't want to confront it. They don't want the people to have any of that information.
Kiczenski says he's disappointed in Mr. Clinton, but more than that, he's disturbed by the modus operandi of the White House.
If they're not going to pay attention to someone who's, risking 10 years of his life, what letters are they paying attention to?
Yes. The Osgood File. I'm Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
And Charlie will return an hour from now on KCBS News Radio 74, KCBS News Time, 9:38.
If anything could drive you to pot, maybe it's the subject we've been discussing, which is a non-subtle way of saying on the line right now is a man named Ron Kiczenski. Ron, we've chatted before. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, Michael, come on. Of course I remember. And it's funny that you would lead in on this subject because really that's the main issue right now that's, I guess, most critical to folks. If you're in pain, if you have glaucoma, if you're doing chemotherapy because you have cancer, if you have AIDS and you have the wasting syndrome, marijuana is very important to you. And folks need to know that the federal government will not acknowledge it as medicine. They will not let people have it as medicine.
Wait a minute. I thought you had the right to in your case. I thought you were the first legalized marijuana cigarette manufacturer.
Yeah, and that's the thing here in Arizona. They have a tax law that provides licenses for us to deal cannabis, and it taxes the substance by the gram, 35 cents. But it still does not acknowledge it as medicine, though patients here in Arizona, of which most of our clientele is right now, this is the only way for them to get their medicine right now is through this Arizona tax law.
So the Goodyear blimp wasn't the only thing that was high at the Super Bowl.
Well, we don't know if people were smoking it, but I can tell you this. We went out there with our packages fully labeled, and we did a press conference right in front of the Super Bowl where people give their tickets away to go inside the dome. Stadium.
You must have been pretty high. There was no dome on that one.
Right, yeah, the stadium, I mean. We told the folks, because, of course, the reason we were there was to get the issue that I've been on your show so many times about industrial and medicinal use. We told the folks that had the cameras about that, and we displayed the products. There was police surrounding us everywhere from every representation of the Arizona law enforcement.
But wait a minute. It's legal for you to sell. Is it legal to smoke?
Well, not in public and probably not inside the Sun Devil Stadium, but in the privacy of your own home, as long as you're not under 18, yes, it is legal to smoke as long as you've paid your tax.
As long as you've paid. Well, nobody's going to pay their tax.
Well, the thing is, they are, and you know, the unfortunate thing for California taxpayers is that while I was handling the media at the Super Bowl, about 5 licensed dealers, I wasn't actually involved in the selling. I was in possession doing the media, but there was 5 licensed dealers there, all from California. All of the tax revenues of the day went to the Arizona Department of Revenue. They should have been going probably to the California Department of Revenue, and instead, you know, they went to the Arizona Department of Revenue, which is great for Arizona, but not so great for California.
How was biz?
Well, they sold 2 to 3 pounds in a matter of probably 2 hours. It all went for $20 a gram, or I should say $19.65 a gram plus tax. And they sold it in 1 gram increments.
So how many joints do you sell then? I don't know much about this stuff.
Well, that's about 1,400 grams. The Revenue Department made 35 cents a gram tax on each one of those.
So we're talking about half a dozen premium joints?
You know, well, no, in one pack, we weren't actually selling joints. We were selling the actual, what we call nuggets, because it's worth more than gold now because of the prohibition. And it's a roll-your-own type thing. It's in the pack. People were clamoring, Michael, just over our labels alone, our Super Bowl labels. Last week's Time magazine, it's off the shelf today, had our label on page 15. And so it's already like a collector's type thing. We actually had 5 state police that were holding the crowds off of one of our dealers, HIV Bob, who couldn't sell it fast enough, and the police were trying to keep people from stampeding him.
By the way, did they ever find you guilty of cultivating marijuana?
Not at all. You mean in Madera County?
Well, you were charged there, weren't you?
Last year we were charged, we planted 20,000 seeds in front of the narcotics enforcement agents for the purpose of making cloth and paper, not even for smoking. And
Ron, I believe you because I've been smoking, but come on.
Well, I got to tell you, Michael, here's the deal here in Arizona, for example.
Yes.
Where we don't have to be here right now. It's perfectly legal for people to sell it and buy it and whatnot with this tax law, but it's not legal for them to grow it and make paper. And the reason we're here is we're lobbying the legislature right now to manipulate this and amend this tax law so that it has exemptions for industrial hemp so that the farmers can hopefully take control of this country. I mean, we're talking about the economy is in the hands of Exxon and DuPont, folks that are taking all the wealth. They're dirtying up the place, and they've turned us all into consumers. And you know, the farmers have always been the backbone of this country. They're the true environmentalists, and we need to give the economy back to them. And that's what we're really trying to do here.
By the way, a tremendous correction. There have been calls galore from people saying, I am absolutely wrong, I stand corrected. It was not the Goodyear blimp, it was the Budweiser blimp. Gosh, you just can't trust these liberals. You know how it is.
Michael, the Goodyear blimp was also up there, and so was the MetLife blimp.
Oh, so then I can say to the people calling through and complaining,
absolutely.
I wouldn't do that, though.
There was 3 blimps up there, and I'll tell you what, the folks in Arizona are higher on, hopefully, economic prosperity than any of those blimps were.
What is it you want? I mean, what does marijuana seriously do for people with glaucoma?
For glaucoma, for example, the medicine that's available for glaucoma patients, many of the patients are extremely allergic to. It can be fatal. It's probably the only alternative, and it's so effective. What it does is, I've heard it explained by glaucoma patients, for example, that it's like dropping 2 hot coals in your eyeball sockets. Now, the marijuana completely eases the pain of that. We have a partner, Glaucoma Jim, in our company that if he goes 3 days without smoking cannabis, he goes blind forever, Michael. I mean, what the heck kind of sense is that? Luckily he's in Arizona where he can be licensed and legally get his medicine, but anywhere else in the country, he would have to be a criminal and try to get it on the street just to keep his sight and stay out of pain. You know, AIDS patients and cancer patients, you know, in order to keep from getting the wasting syndrome, are in the same boat. if they want to use cannabis. I mean, they're selling Marinol. You were just talking about the pharmaceutical war as well. Marinol, the substitute, the synthetic substitute for cannabis, is going for $12 to $15 a pill. That's $1,000 a bottle, and each person with AIDS or cancer that's on chemotherapy gets a bottle every month. That's $1,000 a month that goes to the insurance companies for each one of those folks. And all they got to do is grow one plant on their balcony. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I appreciate your accepting my call again. Thank you for it.
Hey, thanks, Michael.
My pleasure. Stay on the right side of the law.
Hey, we're doing more than the feds. They're just shutting down.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. Bye. Ron Kiczenski. Here's you never inhaled, did you? Did you ever inhale?
No. Excuse me. I've been in the talent lounge. I haven't heard this.